Okay, second part of the Prelude today. Like before, I'm putting a link to the book, to my book, in the whatever it's called, doobly-doo below, or at least in a comment. We're up to page 4, Historical Precedents. The work of music educator, says Coleman, 1878 to 1961, provides a seed for eco-literate music pedagogy. It was a seed that took root in the 1920s, a seed that currently lies dormant. She taught in private piano studios and music classrooms in Washington, D.C. and New York City, at Teachers College, Columbia University, at the Lincoln Lab School. Her creative music method included field trips to understand the musics of others, instrument construction, and improvisation. She published a number of books and articles, and her pedagogy was influential in the first half of the 20th century, but was lost to the annals of history. Perhaps her ecological vision for music education can be understood as our profession's road not taken, echoing Rachel Carson's quote. Some seeds sprout after remaining dormant for decades. If her ideas had remained influential, a new eco-literate music pedagogy might not be required in the first half of the 21st century. Music education might already be a sustainable, place-rooted, ecologically literate profession. Music has an opportunity to be an important part of the education of children because hearing is one of the 5 senses. This statement is not a validation of music in schools. Parents and communities educate children to be seeing, hearing, tasting, scenting, and feeling adults. Experienced arts such as crafts, foods, and musics often define a culture. Hearing is a primary way people experience the world, and music education may be able to help cultivate listening. Coleman's music pedagogy involved listening to nature as music. And here's a quote from her 1939 book. Many people go through life deaf to some of the most beautiful sounds of nature. All this rare music is missed, probably because the traveler was never taught as a little child to listen for these things and to love nature with his ears as well as his other senses. Pedagogically, Coleman described activities that connect children to nature, including the dramatization of songs representing an animal or other character, and promoted summer camps so children experienced out-of-door life and all other healthy summer activities which are so fine for a child's health and social development. She viewed nature's music as an opportunity for cultivating spiritual well-being, a bit of understanding of the voice of God, in her words. There are many assumptions in Coleman's writing about music and nature that seem progressive even today. In the praxial position, a position I begin with, music is understood as something people do. You can see Elliot Silverman, Goebel, and Christopher Small and their work on that. To Coleman, music is more than something people do, but something all of nature does. Humans, non-human animals, plants, and natural systems such as wind, considered as intentionality drawn from Husserl's phenomenology, ego cogito cogitata, a human intends music. This structure is extended in Chapter 5, Spiritual Praxis. Coleman's position is radically ecocentric, ecologically centered. Humans intend music, but also chickadees intend music. Whales intend music. Even the moon, wind, and waves intend music. This has implications for what music is. Music as something people do becomes music as something people, non-human animals, plants, and natural processes do. And this ecocentric position has basic implications for what humans find sonically valuable. The praxial position demands we consider other musics on their own terms, thereby gaining intercultural knowledge, to quote Scott Goebel's 2010 book. If considering music praxially helps music teachers to learn and learners value people outside the Western world, because we value not only classical music, but gamelan, mariachi, hip-hop, bluegrass, etc., An ecocentric position insists we value music beyond the anthropocentric. Extending Goebel's position, and inspired by Coleman's ecocentric understanding of music, we can study non-human musics on their own terms, thereby gaining ecological knowledge. See Chapter 4, Deep Ecology. Coleman's pedagogy seems in line with the work of Canadian composer R. Murray Schafer, which began in the 1970s. Schafer's soundscape influenced the contemporary disciplines of ecomusicology and soundscape ecology, which is a scientific study of ecological systems through sound. Schafer suggests that studying society's soundscape can inform us about social conditions and trends, and that the world soundscape is getting worse owing to noise pollution. That we have learned to ignore noises is problematic. He recommends a practice of clairaudience, that is, clean hearing, to assuage noise pollution. Schafer's discussion of the natural soundscape and the sounds of life are valuable to eco-literate music pedagogy. He categorizes the natural soundscape into the voices of the sea, the transformations of water, voices of winds, the miraculous land, unique tones, and apocalyptic sounds. For instance, when discussing the voices of wind, Schafer writes, quote, "The wind is an element that grasps the ear forcefully. The sensation is tactile as well as oral," end quote. This connects to his pedagogy. Quote, "Sometimes I ask students to identify moving sounds in a soundscape. The wind, say some. Trees, say others. But without objects in its path, the wind betrays no apparent movement. It hovers in the ears, energetic but directionless," end quote. Wind's contribution to the soundscape were some of the first sounds the camp students noticed. The sounds of life, including bird songs, insects, the sounds of water, creatures, the sounds of animals, and Schafer's categorization, human speech, especially noticeable in onomatopoeia, and music, can be studied as imitation of sounds of life. For instance, look at I'm going to pronounce this wrong, Kasije music imitates non-human animal sounds. You can see Chapter 3, Ecomusicology. Speech is limited when it comes to imitating the sounds of life. Music is important because it is in music alone that man finds a true harmony of the inner and outer world, end quote. It seems music connects humans' internal, psychological, and spiritual lives with external soundscapes. Ecology and music education. Schafer identified rural soundscapes as exhibiting better quality. Noise pollution degrades urban soundscapes, which negatively impacts people living in urban spaces. It is not surprising that the work of Vincent C. Bates on rural ideals such as living sustainably within place initiates music education's current move towards eco-literate music pedagogy. In this body of work, Bates connects ecological and social class, including in how social mobility means moving rural people to urban places. Bates expounds a hierarchy of musical engagements that places school over outside of school, formal over informal, presentational over participatory, highbrow over lowbrow, and recommends an agrarian perspective, which finds beauty in nature that values households, neighborhoods, small towns, allowing students to live in comfortable and original musical cultures, end quote. This rural music education provides a model to begin thinking about music education about, in, and for the environment, which provides an opening for eco-literate music pedagogy, which aims to be placed and sustainable. In line with the move towards eco-literate music pedagogy, and because global ecological crises stem from inequalities in human and non-human relationships, Charlene A. Morton recommends a music education philosophy for all my relations. Quote, Morton draws on Deweyan theory to suggest music education can embrace social and ecological justice, can identify its ecological impact, and can be a force for solving the world's problems. Morton's work leads to eco-literate music pedagogy's focus on ecological justice and on recognizing the power of music as a way of knowing, solving the ecological crises. So I'm guessing it's probably going to take at least 2 more sessions to finish this chapter. I didn't get through a lot today in 10 minutes of reading, but working our way through. Next time we'll start with the guided questions on page 7. If you're listening, I hope you're getting a lot out of my book. If you're a music teacher, or if you're a teacher of any sort that uses music in your classroom, which is a lot of people. If you teach math, you teach science, you teach reading, teach elementary school, high school, college, if you homeschool, I feel like starting to listening to the soundscape, which we talked today, right? Out of Coleman, Sadis Coleman, and Murray Schafer, both of which have passed now. That would be very helpful. A helpful starting place, whatever your content area. Getting kids outside, listening to bird songs, the wind, and just start talking about it within the context of whatever subject you're hoping to teach the kids. Because it's all related. Everything's interconnected, ecological. And I think that's what I've most learned on this journey. Have a great day.